Hi, welcome back to another Bear Making YouTube video. Today we are going to turn these strips of wood into a serving tray. We've got some walnut, padauk, hickory, and cherry. So a friend asked me to make this for her, and I'm getting ready to move, so there's a limited amount of time that I had to do this. So I got with work. Wait, hang on. Change of plans. She doesn't want the serving tray anymore, since there's only time for one project. Now we're going to make a shoe rack instead. So forget everything you just saw. The real video starts now. I am taking some red oak plywood, and right now I'm just getting this level set up to use as a straight edge for my circular saw, so I can rip this into the lengths that I need to make the side panels. And these were, let's say, 37 inches. Altogether with the top it came to about 38 inches tall. And setting something like this up, some sort of straight edge for your circular saw, really helps, because then you don't have to try to hold it still to get a straight cut. And you can see after I did that, I set up this system where I have this board where I can just move it a lot easier than setting up a straight edge with my 4-foot level, because this is I can set the cut end right on the line I need cut, and I don't have to worry about measuring the distance between where it's cut and where I need to set up my straight edge and all that. So having one of these for your circular saw is very handy. And then it was just repeating that 5 times to get the different shelves. So the shoe rack isn't going to look like a typical shoe rack. It looks more like a cabinet. It's got open shelves down the middle with a drawer at the top. So if you just look at it, you wouldn't necessarily know it's a shoe rack, but this is what she wanted it to look like, and it worked out well. That way if she wants to keep anything else on it, she's open to do so. So I was just repeating that process a few times, get all the shelves, and then with that done, I clamped a pair of them together, and then just used my hand plane to make sure that the edges were nice and flush and they were all pretty much exactly the same. And then it was onto pocket holes. Pocket holes and pocket holes and pocket holes. And here I'm just using a square to make sure they're all in about the same place. They're all on the bottom of the shelves, so it's not like anybody's really going to see them, but just in case someone does, I'd like to have them at least be mostly in the same spot on each shelf, so it doesn't look like they're all willy-nilly just thrown on there. And it's just, again, more repetitive tasks. Just pocket hole, pocket hole, pocket hole, pocket hole. But I could finally get all those done. I did them all at once just to get them out of the way, and then I moved on to edge banding, which I had not done before, and was really rather simple with the iron-on edge banding. That's exactly what you do. Just iron it on, make sure the glue sticks, and then just trim the ends where it overhangs. And I ended up picking up a different tool to trim this, because doing it with the box cutter that I have here wasn't very efficient. It worked, and I didn't film the other tool that I had, but you can find it pretty easy. A lot of other videos talk about it. It's essentially just something that you clamp on each side, run it down, and it just has a blade that trims it nice and flush on each end. And with all the edge banding applied, it was on to vacuuming off all the dust and getting some finish on there. And I tried this stuff for the first time, the triple thick polyurethane. It says you only really need 1 coat, and it's right. I only put 1 coat on it, and it seemed to do pretty well. It didn't self-level as much as I thought it would, based on the description on the can, but it still worked. It turned out pretty good. And with everything finished, now I'm just on to actually assembling. And I'm just using these squares to make it easy to get these lined up nice and square, and then just go through and finally drill and put the pocket holes in the places that I drilled. And it was a lot of this, again, just attach, move, clamp, attach, so on and so forth. And I'm really liking having the GoPro. I used to just film with my DSLR, but now with the GoPro, it's much easier to move and just set up and hit record. And I can have it up in places like this where it balances really well and nothing bad ever happens. It doesn't fall off anything, so that's pretty cool. Oh, ignore that. That didn't happen. and I got all the shelves on the one side attached, and then flipped it so I could start attaching on the other side. And this again was just moving down the line just like I did attaching the first side, using the same system to make sure they were square and evenly spaced on each side. And with that, the case part was done. And to attach the top, which I haven't showed yet, I'll show the top in a minute, getting that all put together. I was going to use these figure 8 fasteners, but I totally messed up drilling the holes, and you can see they're not really level and they're too deep, so I had to cancel that plan. So instead, I just decided to use pocket holes to attach the top to the case. But of course my drill wouldn't fit, and I didn't want to take all the shelves out. I took one of the shelves out. So instead I had to do what you see me doing here, which is essentially put the drill bit in and then hold it, then put the drill on the drill bit, and just kind of do that over and over again. It worked. And then with that all done and prepared, I got to work on the top. I actually started the top before that, but just to make it flow a little bit better here in the video, we're going to pretend I didn't start on the top until this point when I had the case all done. But I got it cut to length that I needed, and then just planed it down to the thickness, got rid of any rough spots. And then here I had this knot hole that went all the way through the board, so I wanted to get it measured so that I could fill it. I printed this fleur-de-lis, just quick 3D print, so we'll get that going. And because the friend I'm making it for loves New Orleans and all that stuff, and the fleur-de-lis is just something special for her, so decided to throw that in as a nice little touch, a way to fill that knot hole. And then the top wasn't as wide as I thought I had it set up, so essentially just to fill that gap, I'm just throwing in some Padauk. Again, these are strips I had cut down for the serving platter. I was like, well, they'll work for this, so what the heck. And I knew I had made the same friend a jewelry box out of Padauk, so I didn't think she would mind having that as a nice touch in here. She really likes the red color of the Padauk. And who doesn't, really? It's a nice wood to work with, and it turns out really nice. And then with the fleur-de-lis all finished, we can get it in the hole. So here I tried using Alumilite resin first, which cures pretty quickly. You can see it turning white as it cures, but I didn't really like how that looked, and I thought I filled it too much. So instead, I thought I'd use this eye hook to essentially give the fleur-de-lis a nice platform to sit on. And then I mixed up some Total Boat and went with that and just overfilled it to make sure that it was above the surface of the wood and that the fleur-de-lis would reach the surface of the wood. And then I could come back later and sand it all flush and get it nice. You can see it in the back there. And then it's just a matter of getting the top cut down to size and make sure that the ends are square. You can see that's what I'm doing here. Again, using this straight edge to guide the circular saw. Get a nice straight cut right where I want it, a nice square top, and then just do that on the other side so I get it to its final length, which you can see I didn't really have to cut out too much. And then I very quickly build a drawer. Look at me go. If only it actually only took that long in real life. But it's a pretty simple drawer, pocket holes to keep it all together, and then it's just a sheet of 1/4 inch plywood for the drawer bottom that I just glued and brad nailed into place. And then just again quickly install the drawer slides. The Batman pants really help. It's a +1 to drawer installation, which is weird. Batman doesn't really have that skill, but magic item is a magic item. What are you gonna do? And with the drawer all set up, it was time to make a face for it. So again, I just used some Padauk. I really had no idea what I was going to do for a drawer face when I started this project. I was like, I'll figure it out when I get there. And I did. Like, even after I made the drawer, I still didn't know. It took me a little while to just look around to see what I had laying around. I didn't have any red oak that was the right shape and size for it. So I was like, well, I can't do that. So again, I had Padauk laying around. I wanted to use up some of the wood before I moved, so I didn't have to move as much. So I was like, oh, I'll just throw it on here. And when installing the pull here, you can't really tell it right now, and I didn't notice it right away, but the screw cracked the pull. So even after getting the finish and everything on there, it's when I go to install the drawer that I notice it's cracked. I'll show you how I fix that in a minute. First thing I had to fix was these screws. I used the wrong pocket hole screws, so they stuck out, So I had to go through and file these down with an old, not very good file that I had laying around. So this took longer and was a bigger pain in the butt than it probably needed to be. But I got it done, and that's the important thing. Made it work. And here you can see I'm just putting super glue in the crack on the drawer pull. Super glue and accelerator, and then just sand it all down. Really got the coat of finish off of it so that I could get the super glue sanded smooth. And once new finish was on it, you could still see, if you knew it was cracked, you could still see that it was there, but otherwise it looked pretty good. Couldn't really even tell. That's the nice thing about Padauk, is it has some dark lines in it already, so like the dark crack line with the super glue in it didn't really stand out that much. I just used playing cards to get it all spaced out. Use the same amount of playing cards on each side, so you know the spacing is even. Screw it into place temporarily from the front with the same holes from the drawer pull, and then attach it from the back permanently with more screws. And then you can take the two temporary screws out and replace them with the screws that go through the drawer from the back into the drawer pull, like I'm doing here. And then it's good. Just vacuum off all the dust, pick up your cards, clean up your mess, and put the last little coat of finish on the drawer pull from when I had to sand it all off. And that pretty much does it. Again, it's not the typical shoe rack like you would see, which is like a long thing with shallow angled shelves that you can see the shoes, but this is what she wanted, so that she could keep all her shoes in her closet and have a nice thing to look at, and I really enjoyed making it. I learned quite a bit. I hadn't really done something that was like a cabinet style like this, so getting everything to line up and get the shelves evenly spaced, filling a knot hole on the top with the fleur-de-lis, all that was fun to do. And then I didn't really plan on having the Padauk accents in it, but I really like how that turned out. I'd like to know what you think. Make sure to leave a comment down below if you have any thoughts or questions about it. Subscribe so you see our videos in the future. And thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it. Have a wonderful day.